The cabin of Aurora Sky Flight 717 hummed with the usual pre-departure rhythm, seatbelts clicking, luggage rustling, attendants smiling with rehearsed warmth. But all of it shattered the moment a tall Federal Air Marshal stepped into the aisle and locked his eyes on a tiny black girl sitting quietly in seat 3C, her legs barely reaching the edge. Her curls tied with yellow ribbons that bounced each time she kicked her heels in excitement. Her mother, Maya Porter, was gently helping her with her coloring book when the Marshal loomed over them, badge out, posture rigid. "Ma'am," he barked, "this child cannot remain on this flight." The entire row froze as Maya looked up in stunned confusion. "What? She's 4. What are you talking about?" He jabbed a finger at the girl's boarding pass as though it were contraband. "Her identification is suspicious, and we cannot verify her travel status." Maya blinked, disbelief turning into a slow, rising fear. "Suspicious? It's a valid ticket. I booked it myself. Scan it." But the Marshal shook his head with the cold finality of someone who had already decided the verdict before the trial. "We don't need to. The child doesn't match the profile." The words hung in the air, the profile sharp enough to draw blood. A woman across the aisle whispered, "Is he serious?" A man muttered, "Just let him do his job." And just like that, the crowd became spectators to an injustice unfolding feet away. The Marshal leaned closer. "The child will deplane now, voluntarily or not." Maya shielded her daughter instinctively, voice trembling but fierce. "You're not putting your hands on my child." The Marshal radioed the captain with the casual tone of someone ordering coffee. "Request removal of passenger. Minor. Non-compliant." Tears welled in the little girl's eyes as she clung to her mother's arm. "Mommy, what's happening?" Passengers shifted uncomfortably, some filming, others pretending not to notice. The Marshal grabbed the girl's tiny backpack as if seizing evidence. "Let's go." The plane fell into a horrified silence as he physically escorted a 4-year-old down the aisle, her sobs echoing like a wound tearing through the cabin. As soon as he disappeared with her toward the jet bridge, Maya pulled out her phone, not to record, but to call a single number. She spoke only 5 words, calm but shaking with a fury the cabin could feel. "Elias, they took our daughter." And on the other end of the line, her husband, Elias Porter, CEO of Aurora Sky Holdings, the parent company of the entire airline, went silent the way a storm goes silent before it destroys the earth. When the Air Marshal marched the little girl into the gate area, her sobs softened only when she saw a tall man in a charcoal suit striding toward her with such controlled intensity that airport staff instinctively stepped aside. Elias Porter picked his daughter up with a gentleness completely at odds with the sharp storm in his eyes. "Daddy, they said I couldn't fly," she whimpered, small hands clutching his collar. Elias kissed her forehead, then turned, slowly, deliberately, to face the Marshal. "Explain," he demanded, voice low and resonant, the kind that carried boardrooms and markets with it. The Marshal straightened, trying to regain dominance. "Her documentation didn't match her appearance. I acted within protocol." Elias's jaw tightened. "Protocol," he repeated, as if tasting poison. "Show me the part of your protocol that permits removing a 4-year-old without verification, without scanning a ticket, without a supervisor present, and without speaking to the captain." The Marshal hesitated, eyes flickering. Elias stepped closer. "You didn't follow protocol. You followed prejudice." The gate supervisor rushed over, panicked. "Mr. Porter, we didn't know you were here. You weren't supposed to know," Elias said coldly. "I fly anonymously for a reason. To see what really happens." He handed his daughter to a waiting executive assistant who had sprinted from the lounge. Then he pulled out a sleek black card from his jacket, an ID that instantly drained the color from the supervisor's face. "Effective immediately," Elias said, voice ringing through the terminal. "This flight is grounded. No one boards. No one moves. Not until I'm finished." Gasps rippled through the gate area as he issued rapid-fire orders into his phone. "Lock the aircraft door. Pull the flight crew. Freeze operations for Gate C." Within minutes, screens blinked red, delayed, on hold, pending authorization. Passengers at the windows watched mechanics walk away from the plane. Attendants stepped out, wide-eyed. Rumors spread like wildfire. Someone's shutting down the flight. Is it a bomb threat? No, it's something worse. Elias re-entered the jet bridge with the marshal and supervisors trailing behind like guilty shadows. When he stepped into the aircraft, the entire cabin turned toward him. Some recognized him. Others instinctively sat straighter, sensing power even without a name. He spoke with calm, devastating clarity. This flight was moments from departing after a federal agent removed a 4-year-old child without justification, without verification, and without cause. That child is my daughter. But more importantly, she is a human being who deserves the dignity any passenger deserves. The passengers listened, many ashamed of their silence. Elias gestured to the marshal. This man violated federal procedure, airline policy, and basic human decency. The marshal bristled. Sir, with respect, respect? Elias said, turning to him with the weight of an entire corporation behind his gaze. You lost the right to use that word when you put your hands on a child. The cabin swallowed the silence whole. With the marshal escorted off by internal affairs officers who arrived within minutes, Elias turned back to the passengers, his passengers, with a weary but resolute honesty etched into his expression. I didn't come here to embarrass anyone, he said, but I will not allow discrimination, especially against a child, to be dismissed as protocol. He looked at the flight attendants, many with tears slipping silently down their cheeks. This is not about one employee. It's about a culture that allows small assumptions to grow into large harms. People nodded, some guilty, some grateful, all changed. Maya re-entered the cabin with their daughter, now calmer, clutching her coloring book. The entire plane seemed to exhale. Elias knelt beside her seat. Sweetheart, do you want to stay on this flight or go home? She looked around with surprising bravery for someone so young. I want to stay. I want Mommy. He smiled softly. Then we stay. The passengers, those who moments ago were ready to depart without a second thought, now shifted with reverence, as though witnessing a moment far bigger than travel. Elias rose and addressed the crew. A new team will operate this flight. All procedures will be followed. All passengers will be respected. And as of this moment, every person on board will be compensated for the delay. Audible gasps spread across the cabin. But Elias wasn't finished. And by the end of today, he continued, voice steady as steel, Aurora Sky Airlines will release a new anti-profiling directive, personally written by me. He paused, emotion breaking through the armor. No child, mine or anyone else's, should ever experience what happened today. The cabin erupted in applause, not loud or chaotic, but powerful, unified, human. And as the plane finally pushed back from the gate under a new crew, the tiny girl in seat 3C leaned against her mother and whispered, Daddy fixed it. And for once, a plane wasn't rising because of engines, but because of truth. If this story touched you, even for a moment, don't let it end here. Drop a comment below and tell me what part hit hardest. Was it the moment the marshal targeted a child? The silence of the passengers? Or the second her father stepped in and transformed an entire airline with truth, leadership, and courage? Sharing your reaction matters. It keeps these conversations alive. It shines light on the moments too many people brush aside, excuse, or ignore. And if you've ever witnessed something like this, or experienced it yourself, your voice could help someone else feel seen. Share this video so others can understand how quickly bias turns into harm, and how powerful it is when someone refuses to accept it. And if you believe stories like this should keep being told, raw, emotional, and unfiltered, then hit subscribe, hit like, and join this community. Every comment, every share, every interaction helps push these stories into the world where they can spark awareness, empathy, and change. Your voice is part of the impact. Your presence is part of the movement. Thank you for watching, feeling, reflecting, and standing up in your own way. The work continues, and you're part of it.